Hey guys, and welcome back to my Lilac Hill. Today is April 2nd, and I kind of just have a hodgepodge random collection of videos that I've thrown into this video today. When you've got a 2-month-old at home, you just kind of take advantage of the little bits of time that you have while he's napping to get your videoing done. But I wanted to take a quick minute and do a quick little introduction slash backstory on my gardening experience before heading into the random hodgepodge. So, like I said, it's April 2nd. I started my seeds this year on March 27th, so it's only been a few days. And I do have some success on some of them. And my peppers, which are really my favorite plant, have not germinated. And I have never started pepper seeds before. I have started all of the other varieties of seeds that I'm growing this year previously, but peppers I've never started from seed before. So I reached out to a group on Facebook. It's the Friends of Roots and Refuge Farm Facebook group, which I absolutely love that group, primarily because it's a wealth of knowledge. They have such a great community mindset, and they're so willing to help and give tips and tricks. So I went ahead and reached out to them, and that's kind of what you're going to see in a couple of these clips is the advice that I got from them and kind of what to do for my pepper plants. And then I mentioned Roots and Refuge Farm a lot in this video, and that's because it is my absolute favorite gardening channel to watch. Not only is Jess the main one that you see, you do also see her family, but you primarily see Jess in her videos. She's a wealth of knowledge, but she's also just very entertaining to watch, and you can tell how passionate about gardening she is, so I just really love her channel. And I will link her channel in the description box below, so please go check her out. She knows way more than I do, but I do reference her channel a lot in this video, primarily because she gives me a lot of inspiration for my gardening. And a little bit of backstory on my gardening experience. I started teaching myself how to garden in 2014, and my very first vegetable garden that I ever did was a total failure. Primarily because I was working a lot of 12-hour days. I was in my very early 20s. It wasn't my priority, and I neglected it a lot. So I did not get a harvest. I bought all of my harvest that year from the Amish. And that year was also the same year that I taught myself, well, that's not entirely true. We'll get into that. But my aunts also love to garden and harvest and can and all of that. So they sent me as a surprise a Presto pressure canner and a dehydrator. And so that's really when my food preservation started. Now, I want to say I taught myself how to can, but that's not entirely true, because the very first time I ever canned was actually with my boyfriend at the time. We're no longer together, but it was his mom. She taught me how to can, and we canned tomato juice. And then from there, I taught myself how to can pretty much everything else, and then my aunt actually taught me how to can meats. So a lot of the things that I have canned, I have taught myself how to can, but I have also, watched YouTube videos on how to do that, as well as, help from his mom and my aunts. So that's kind of my backstory on that. 2014's garden was complete and total failure. 2015, I did a little bit better and was able to harvest some tomatoes from that garden. I didn't do a very big garden. I think I only did tomatoes and peppers, and I was successful in both of those. And then 2016 and 2017 were the last gardens that I did. I was renting a house that had 2 acres, and I had, if I remember correctly, I had 2 25-foot by 25-foot garden plots. So I had quite a bit of garden space, and I went crazy. I planted everything I could think of, and I had success with my peppers, my tomatoes, lettuce, radish, and potatoes. But I did not have success with my cabbage, my broccoli, or my cauliflower. So I've never successfully grown cabbage, broccoli, or cauliflower. And every single year that I've gardened, I have had really successful tomatoes. Those are pretty easy for me. And I have struggled every single year with my pepper plants. I think that they're just very stubborn, and from what I've been gathering, talking to a lot of other people who have grown peppers, they can be quite challenging. I have always been able to grow them from starts that I've purchased at nurseries, but that's kind of the main part of this video. Was I've been struggling with the seeds, and so I'm trying several different experiments, just seeing kind of what works without having access to a greenhouse, and I only have one small grow light. So I'm just trying to show that there's so many different ways that you can start seeds, and I'm hoping that my pepper plants come through for me, and I'll be able to take you along and show you the success of it, hopefully. But that's kind of the gist of this video, and towards the end I do give you a little sneak peek to one of the projects that we've been working on around here. I originally wasn't going to show you that yet, but I've decided, just based on where we're at, and I explain that later in the video, to go ahead and show you part of that. And like I said, it's just kind of a hodgepodge, so I do apologize for the chaos, but while I have a newborn, this is just kind of the way life is right now. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoy, and I hope that you learn something from this. So today is April 2nd, and I started these seeds on March 27th. And these are all my peppers. I have a couple different varieties of bell pepper, some pepperoncinis, and some jalapeno peppers. And so far none of them have sprouted, whereas my tomatoes and cucumbers and herbs and my other flowering plants have all sprouted. So I reached out to a group on Facebook and just asked for some tips and tricks. And a lot of them said that peppers just take a lot longer to germinate, so to be patient. But they also said to use a heating mat, and that peppers often thrive in warmer soil conditions. I don't have a grow mat per se, but I do have a heating pad that has a warm function rather than just low. So I put it on the warm function, put the towel on top of it, then my plastic container full of my pepper starts, and then a grow light that my neighbor is letting me borrow. So I'm hoping that this will help speed up the germination process. I am going to keep an eye on how hot this is getting, because I don't want to get too hot, but I feel like this might work. So I'll definitely bring you along for this experiment and let you know how it goes. But I did want to show you some of the other plants that I have started. These are all my tomato plants, and I'm not going to take the lid off, but you can see that they've started to germinate. I have Bella Rosas, Sun Golds, and Sweetie Cherry tomato varieties started. And then I also have a couple of other trays that I've already taken outside for the day of cucumbers and things like that, herbs, some flowers, and they've all also started to germinate. The cucumbers are really taking off. So what I've been doing is I've just been taking my containers out for the majority of the day, setting them in the sun, and then bringing them in at night. And it seems to be working. I don't have a greenhouse this year, and that's the only grow light I have access to, so just doing the best that I can, and so far it seems to be working out okay. Another method that the group on Facebook, which happens to be the Friends of Roots and Refuge Farm Facebook group, they recommended using the paper towel method. So I am going to start some more peppers, one of each kind of my varieties that I've started. These are the other two that I have not got to yet. I'm going to put them in a baggie, and I'm actually just going to set them underneath this, but then also underneath another towel to keep it dark, since they don't have the soil to keep it dark, which is on top of the heat mat, so it'll be dark and warm and moist. And I'm going to see kind of how this works. I have never started seeds this way before. Well, that's not true. Maybe in like kindergarten when you're learning about seeds and things like that, kindergarten, first grade, whenever that is. But since then I have not started seeds this way. So I thought, in the spirit of experimenting, I would go ahead and do that, and I will let you know how that works out. But pretty much what I've gathered is increase the soil temperature and put a grow light and be patient. So I'm going to give it several more days, see how they do, while also starting this method, and I'll take you guys along for the ride and see what happens. And yes, you might have heard Jess from Roots and Refuge playing in the background of my video, because she seems to calm my son down, and he likes to watch her. I wanted to show you guys some of the plants that I've started. So this is black-seeded Simpson lettuce, and I've never tried this method before, but I did see Jess at Roots and Refuge do it. Just in a bag of potting mix, and it worked really well for her, and she actually grew her salad greens all winter long with this method. So I went ahead and tried it. Obviously, especially in certain places, it's very thick and we'll need some thinning, but they are coming up very well. So that's that. And I leave that outside even throughout the night, because lettuce can handle, we're getting down into like the 60s at night, and it can handle that. Now if we do get much colder, I might bring them in, but again, Jess grew them all winter long that way, so I think it'll be okay. I'm only about 4 hours north of her anyways. And then these are my flowers. I have some marigolds, some zinnias, and I did start some impatiens, but none of them have germinated, so I'm waiting on those. But the marigolds are right here. And these are a couple of different varieties of zinnias. And then in this tote, I have a few different things, mostly herbs and then a couple cucumbers. And they're all doing really well. These are cucumbers, and they are doing phenomenally well. Now this basil was a gift from my neighbor, and he started them several weeks before I started the rest of these. This is the basil I started. So that's why they're so much further ahead. But these are doing well, and this is an experiment that I'm trying this year based off of the method that Jess did her salad greens in, just using clear totes and putting them outside for the majority of the day, bringing them in at night, and it's working out well. And these are all of my tomatoes, which I showed you earlier, but I have since brought them back outside. It's an overcast day today, so not a lot of sun, but typically in this area they would get a lot of sun. There's shadow, and I wasn't going to show you the raised beds until we got them done, but after building 2 of them, a little bit of garden math happened and we decided to do another set of 2. So I'll go ahead and show you what we do have done, and then when we complete them I will do another video. So these are 8 foot long by 3 foot wide, and they're probably about a foot deep, maybe a little bit more. I haven't actually measured the depth, and Mike did the building, so I'm not entirely sure. But what we did is we just used plywood on the bottom and exterior paint. We plan to come through with some black, like 9mm garden plastic and put over top. And then between the 2 beds, we did a work table, which I then got a little bit creative and painted. And I do have a couple of areas, like over here, where I want to touch up with the paint. And then put a little bit of a ledge and holes in them so that I can put my garden tools in them. And decided to put this ledge on the front of the beds just to, you know, set a tool down or set a flat of starts down while I'm planting. And then we also did an arch trellis in the middle, just with a cattle panel. Now cattle panels are standard 16 by 4 foot panels, made out of fencing welded wire. And we cut this one down because, like I said, our beds are only 3 foot wide, and that's from the outside, not the inside dimension of that. So we did cut that panel down, and with the amount of fencing that we had left off of that one panel, we had enough to then cut down again and use in the back side of each bed. And this is going to be what I use to support my tomatoes, as they're going to be planted along the back side there. And then we thought, well, we're going to need some sort of drainage, and we may as well do some water collection. So we've got some gravel here that's going to go into our drainage system, and we've got some PVC piping, and I could go through and just verbally explain what we're gonna do with that, but I will wait until we actually do it, and I will videotape and share that process with you. And then, like I said, we decided to go ahead and add 2 more beds to this setup. And in the middle of these beds, instead of the work table, since I already have a work table, we're actually gonna do a bench that sits a little bit lower and another arch trellis up over top of them. And I ordered some nasturtiums and some morning glories to go over that trellis. So we'll have cucumbers on this one and some pretty flowers as a pop of color, since that's where the road is. Just kind of add a pop of color and draw people's eyes to the garden. So that's all I have for right now on these raised beds. But like I said, when we do the next step and complete this project, hopefully by the end of the week, depending on weather and Mike's work schedule, I will then show you the finished product. So just like I said, it was kind of a random hodgepodge of basically just what I've been doing today. I hope that you learned something, and I hope to see you here in a couple weeks with successful pepper plants. But if not, at least we tried a few different things, and everything else seems to be successful so far. So join me in this journey of starting seeds in experimental ways and gardening in raised beds for the first time. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that you liked what you saw. If you do, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe our videos. We would really appreciate the support. And until next time, stay chill.